All right, we're up to part 37, part 38. So, in the last video, I think we left off talking about that weekend, Sunday, my fucking brother with the camera and all this other bullshit. I just want to make this clear because I don't know if I really made it very clear in the last one. My brother did not come to the hospital. All right, my mom had that talk with them on the 5th. I'm going to show you guys the calendars. I want you guys to really see how much she was in the hospital, how long. So they left off on the 5th. My mom had that talk with them. My brother did not come to the hospital that whole entire week, came back Friday, got the camera, did not come that whole entire weekend. We got into that fight about the camera on Sunday. In my head, I couldn't believe this. I'm thinking this fucking asshole. You know, my brother was not around for the last 3 years. I know I've said this like a million times, but it's the truth. He was not around. He was not allowed to come to my mom's house by himself. Him and Satan did not actually come to my mom's house. You know, they just didn't. In my eyes, he wasn't allowed. She'll deny that till the cows come home. Moo. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around, like, why are you sitting home right now worrying about a camera? Why wouldn't you be at the hospital as much as you can for somebody who didn't speak to my mom for the last 3 years? Prior to her death, whatever it was at the time, 2 years, 2.5, 3, I forget. Why wouldn't you be down at the hospital? I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, I was just like, dude, I would be spending every minute of my time down here. I wouldn't be worrying about cameras. I wouldn't be at her house. My head was at, let me spend as much time with her as I possibly can. Because this is it. Anyway, so Sunday passes, right? Monday night comes. That prior week, and I believe it was that Friday, we were supposed to have a meeting with the social worker to talk about my mom's options for getting out of the hospital. Because at this point in time, medically, she didn't really need to be there anymore. The meeting got canceled and we decided to have it the next week. And it was supposed to be, I believe, Thursday or something like that, right? I think it was Thursday. It was Thursday, the 17th. That was the day that we were supposed to have the meeting with the social worker to talk about what my mom's options were. You know, one of the things that, you know, had to happen before she could get released from the hospital was that she had to be able to sit upright, supporting her own weight in a chair for 4 hours. She was unable to do that for weeks. So she was working with the physical therapist and she was able to sit in the chair. And that Monday night, I will never forget, she called me up and she was like, Leanna, I sat in the chair for 4 hours. I was like, oh my God. So I think I brought her dinner from somewhere outside. She sat there for 6 hours. She like went past the time. And I went up there and I was like, this is great, Mom. Like in my head, I was like getting hope back. Like maybe she can do this. So that was that night, right? That was Monday. Tuesday, I don't think there was anything, whatever day it was that week. And then Wednesday comes. My mom started getting like, I don't know. She just had like this glazed over look in her eyes. And the only way I could explain it is like, I remember, again, my dad having the same thing. It was just this glazed over look. It's like you'll be sitting there and talking to the person and they kind of just look like they're not there. Like their eyes almost look black, like there's no life in them. And I was like, I don't know if it's the drugs or whatever. Wednesday comes. My mom and I both kept in touch with my brother's ex-fiance's mom. My brother and his ex-fiance were together for 6 years. My brother started dating her right before my dad passed away, and they were dating for 6 years after that. We had a really close relationship with them. You know, like our Christmases were spent with them and birthdays. They became like our family. And when my brother broke up with his ex-fiance, they were engaged for the last 2 years of their relationship. We had a really close relationship with her mom and her mom's boyfriend, which we'll just call her husband, right? You know, that was one of the hardest parts for us. Like, not only did he break up with her, but it's like we have to break up with her family almost, you know? And it's like they became our family. And now it's like we can't see these people anymore. Since we didn't talk to Satan for like 2.5 years, my mom maintained a relationship with his ex's mother. Why can't we talk to her, you know? It's not like she's going to be around. Their relationship was done. It was over. I mean, she cheated on him for 2 years. So clearly she wasn't, interested. So we kept in touch with her. And in fact, I think it was right before my mom went back into the hospital, sometime in September, me and my mom met up with her and we went out to dinner. I found out that her brother died, which was so sad. She's another person. Hold on, I just have to fix that. It was annoying the shit out of me. My brother's ex-fiance, her name's Diane. I found out through her husband that her brother had passed away that summer, which I didn't know. I didn't find out until after. I didn't even tell Diane when my mom went back in the hospital because I was like, this woman is so emotional. She's dealt with so much loss. And I was like, she's going to lose her fucking mind if she finds out my mom's like in the hospital and not doing well. So I didn't even tell her until one day she texted me and asked me what was going on. And I finally told her, listen, my mom's back in the hospital. So she's like, I want to come see her. Obviously, she did not want to come down and be at the hospital at the same time as my brother and Satan. So I tell her, come down on Wednesday. I said, and come at whatever time. I told her, my brother, if he does come, which he hasn't been there, he usually comes during his lunch. And I said, and then they're in work. So if you come at whatever time, you'll be sure that they're at work. I said, they haven't been there in days anyway, so who knows? So she decides to come down. So Wednesday comes, right? I get to the hospital and I don't know, man. My mom just didn't look right that day. Like, there was just something weird about her. Her stomach was, like, really distended looking, like, really bloated. And I was like, that's so weird, like, what's going on? And that day, she started complaining about, like, a pain in her lower stomach. But to be honest with you guys, not to be gross or too graphic, I kind of just thought she was constipated because she was on all these painkillers. And, like, one of the effects of the painkillers is that you get bloated and constipated. So I thought maybe that's what was going on. Maybe she had a pain because she was constipated, right? Like, the last couple of days, I noticed she wasn't eating, which is really weird for my mom because, dude, my mom was like a food addict. First of all, she's Italian. And my mom loved to cook. She was the best fucking cook ever. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. She was the best. She really loved food. She wasn't eating over those couple of days, and I was kind of like getting worried about it, but I was like, whatever. Maybe she just doesn't have an appetite from the medication. And they had started that antidepressant a couple of days prior, so I thought maybe the antidepressant, maybe it's like making her apathetic and kind of in a zone. Like she's out of it. Something just seemed off that day. So I tell Diane to meet me at the hospital. And she drives down there and I go downstairs and I meet her in the parking garage so I can tell her how to get up. Because she's like one of those like women where she's so funny. She's like one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. I love her to death. But she's such a character. There is only one Diane on this planet. She's just so unique. Such a strong personality. She's just one of my favorite people in the world. So I was like, Diane, meet me down in the hospital, in the parking garage and I'll help you get up. Because she was like, I don't know how I'm going to get there by myself. Blah, blah, blah. Like she's one of those people. So I go meet her down in the hospital in the parking garage, right? I had my son with me. We ended up like talking a little bit before we went up. Because I think my mom was sleeping when I left the room. She was like out of it that day. We finally go up to the room. It's like 3:00 in the afternoon. We walk in the room and all of a sudden I look and my Aunt Betty and my Aunt Debbie are standing in the room. This is so weird. They didn't tell anybody they were coming. Why are you guys not at work? It was just so weird. They never came during the day like that. Maybe one other time when my mom was having this procedure done. They never came without my uncle. They always had to have my uncle drive them there because they're like little fucking babies. This is so weird. Like, how come these people are here? I don't know. Something was weird about it, right? It was so awkward when we walked in the room and Diane pointed this out to me like way later on. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. There was something weird that day. Like, all right, so my mom's in the bed over here and my Aunt Debbie and my Aunt Betty, they're like standing against the wall, the opposite side of the room of her. So my mom's on this side and they're on this side. And they were both like, I don't know, they were like huddled so close together. And they were both just standing like this. Nobody was talking when we entered the room. And it was so awkward. I didn't even know they were coming up. I was like, why are they here? Like, what's going on? Me and Diane come walking in and they're kind of like, I don't know. It's not that they weren't being friendly to her, but they were just like, it was so quiet and I noticed like there was this awkward tension in the air and I didn't know what was going on. A couple of minutes after we get there, my husband calls me up and tells me he's coming, he's on his way up to the hospital and he's going to get my son. I felt bad leaving Diane, but I was like, I got to go downstairs and bring my son downstairs. So I go downstairs and I remember my husband pulled up to the main entrance and we're talking for a little bit. My husband had just started a new job that week. He's in a union, but he started with a new shop and he's telling me about, how everything was going and blah, blah, blah. I go back upstairs, and it's still weird in the room. Diane's sitting next to my mom. These two assholes are standing on the opposite side of the room and like nobody's really talking. It was just so strange. My mom was just kind of in the bed, just staring at the TV. Like, I don't know. It was so weird. One thing that happened, Diane was like, she said to my mom, she's like, you have the most amazing daughter. You're so lucky to have her. She's so good to you and this and that, And I'm like, Diane, stop. I know. I'm just joking. But you know what I'm saying? And like my aunts, they didn't say a goddamn word. It was so awkward. So finally they leave. I just want to add that I don't know why my aunts came that day. Thinking back now, knowing that they were the executors on my mom's will, I wonder if they came that day and tried talking to her about it, because it seems like they tried to come during a time that nobody would be there, and they never told my mom that she was coming, and there was just this awkward vibe in the air that day. Everybody just seemed angry and kind of weird. They didn't even like, it was so weird. They just didn't even go near my mom. They were like so distant from her and detached. And my mom seemed very detached that day too. So now it's just me, Diane, and my mom in the room. And I'm watching my mom. I'm just like, something's not right with her today. I don't know what's going on. She just seems really weird. So I'm trying to get her to order dinner because I knew she didn't eat. She was like talking to us, but she kept like falling asleep. She had this glazed over look in her eyes that I hadn't really seen, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on, but something's not right. I just have this feeling. I give my mom the menu to look at the menu to see what she wants to order, and I look over and she's holding the menu completely upside down. And I'm like, Mom, you're not even like looking. Like, she's like, Liana, leave me alone. And I'm like, all right. She's like, it's fine. And I'm like, she doesn't even know that this menu is upside down right now. What the hell's going on? She's literally looking at the menu upside down. All of a sudden, I look over at her and she's sleeping. So I just grabbed the menu out of her hand and put it down. Diane hangs out for a little while. And even with that, like my mom, she was waking up and like, maybe saying like 2 words and then falling back to sleep. And she wasn't really like acknowledging Diane. It was just so weird. The whole thing was weird. So finally, Diane's like, I gotta go. I'm gonna go home, So I'm like, all right. I'm in the room now. It's just me and my mom. And I don't know, just something didn't feel right that night, man. It was so weird. So my mom fell asleep and I felt really bad waking her up, but I had to wake her up because I wanted her to take her dentures out, So I was like, Mom, wake up. I'm like, let me take your teeth out and everything so we could clean them and get them all ready for tomorrow, right? She takes out the bottom and she goes to take the top out, right? She's like, having trouble. And I'm like, what's the matter? And she's like yanking on it, but like it's not moving. And I'm like, Mom, what the hell's going on here? It's so weird because usually, she slipped them right out. Like they came out so easy. I see her like really struggling with these things. And then all of a sudden she finally gets it loose. And I look and I'm like, Mom, what did she do? She glued them in. She never used to glue the tops. She only used to glue the bottom ones. There was so much glue on these things. She pulled them out, and like when she pulled it out, like I don't know if you guys have ever seen like Fix-A-Dent or like denture glue, it gets super stringy. So she pulls it out. This big glob of like strands is just coming out of her mouth. Dude, I've never seen anything like it. There was so much glue hanging from her gums, and she's like sitting there picking it out, and I'm trying to help her. And I was just like, why would she glue the dentures in? I don't even understand. It's so weird. So whatever. I'm hanging out. That night, she picks up her phone after a little while. And I see her pick up her phone. And I see her scrolling through Facebook, right? And all of a sudden, she stops on this one post. And I'm going to show you guys this. Okay, so this was posted on my Aunt Debbie's Instagram, and then she shared it on Facebook. It says, here's the thing, I'm a nice person, so if I'm a bitch to you, you need to ask yourself why. And we could see it was posted November 15th, 2016. That's the date. You also see that B, that's my Aunt Betty, she liked it. She also posted this that night, in which I'm not sure if my mom saw or not, but she posted this. Some people create their own storms and get upset when it rains. Yeah, Aunt Debbie, I created this storm, right? I gave my mom cancer. I told my brother to be married to a fucking narcissist and obsessed with money. I created this storm, right? Get the fuck out of here, you dumb bitch. I didn't say a word to either of these stupid bitches that night. Not a goddamn word. That's what my Aunt Debbie posted that night. Well, while I'm sitting there, I start looking on Facebook because I wanted to read what my aunt posted. My mom saw this post too, and she stopped on it. She didn't say anything about it, but I watched her stop on it. I watched her eyes read it, and then she kind of scrolled past and just kept scrolling. My mom saw that shit, and that's really fucked up that they were even doing that. I just want to add too, they saw the condition she was in that day. I mean, they did this after they left the hospital. So you went home and did that after seeing what kind of condition your sister was in. You're a piece of shit. Just saying. My mom, I think, knew it was about me. Even though she was out of it that day, I think she knew what was going on. At one point in time, I just went and unfriended my whole family on Facebook. Not to be an asshole. I didn't block anybody. I just unfriended them because they were like posting all these like, passive aggressive memes. And I was doing the same thing. I'm not going to like put all the blame on them. But I just thought, you know what? I know myself. And if I see him, I'm going to say something. And so that night, I start looking on Facebook because I want to see what my Aunt Debbie posted about, that thing that my mom was looking at, right? So I'm scrolling down, type her name in. That's weird. She's not coming up in a search. So I go type in my Aunt Betty's name. Her name's not coming up either. And I'm like, that's weird, So I go on my grandmother's page because I told you guys I had access to my grandmother's page. And I realized that my Aunt Debbie and my Aunt Betty went home that night and blocked me on Facebook. Why? I don't know. But they did. And I know they were there in the morning. I saw their posts in the morning. So for whatever reason, when they left the hospital, I don't know what happened, but they decided to block me. I don't know why. They're just drama queens. And I was just like, whatever. I'm not even dealing with this. Who gives a shit? You did me a favor. Thank you. So anyway, all right, fine. I just had this like weird, nervous feeling that night. Something just didn't feel right. I left the hospital. I call my husband up and I'm like, Chris, I don't know. Something's wrong. Something's different. Something changed today. I don't know what it is. So I thought maybe it was that antidepressant that they put her on. Maybe it was making her out of it. I went home that night and I'm like researching online because they say if you're on, I forget what it is, 15 or 16 or more medications, there's a very strong chance that two of the drugs might interact with each other. So I was like, maybe there's some kind of interaction with this antidepressant. I know they were still giving her something for anxiety. So I was like, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe she's getting confused from the antidepressant. I was like, tomorrow I'm going to ask the doctor if he could take her off the antidepressant. Fine. You know what? I'm going to end this one and come back in the next one. Hold on.